opportunity is going to be strictly restricted to everyone that registers. So if there's anyone in the group who has not registered, the registration is supposed to close on Wednesday, but I asked the coordinator to extend it till yesterday. So by the end of today's session, in the group, whoever has not registered, unfortunately, they'll be asked to excuse us from the group. The essence of creating the group is not to create another social media platform where people can just come and hide or just stay there. We are strictly for learning. We are strictly for engagement. We are strictly for um, development. So if anyone is not going to abide by giving that required commitment, following through the process and attending classes, I'm sorry, such a person will not be welcome into the group. If it's going to be 5 people, it's going to be 10 people at the end of the day that I would have the attention. I think that will suffice. So we are not looking for crowds. All the mentors, all everyone that will be coming to us are not looking for huge population of students, to mentor. So if you have friends whom you have invited into the group, you need to let them know this. And this weekend, I'll be communicating that to everyone who have registered via email. So every session, every weekend, when we come together like this, there's going to be attendance that will be taken. And once anyone misses, this is another part of the rule. If anyone misses the class consecutively 3 times, the person will be advised to leave. Because every week you will have something that you'll be given as an exercise or group work. It's going to be that intensive. There will be engagement, there will be assignments, there will be projects, there will be group work. There's going to be things that you have to do. So imagine if someone is not here today and things that is going to get everything just by going through the video. No, it's not going to happen, right? So we want that attention. The few weeks we are going to keep you together here, right? We want to ensure that you get the best out of it. Okay. Thank you, Pikayomi, for sharing the registration link. So please, if you are here, if you have not registered, make sure you do the registration via that link. Okay, so that we'll be able to capture your data and you'll be able to receive the correspondence that I'm going to be sharing with you. Then the other thing is everyone must submit their assignment as at when due, or their project or their exercise, whatever you are given to do, make sure you submit as at when due. Very, very important. Not because we want to know who is the most brilliant, okay? It's part of the learning process. So the style of our engagement is going to be project-based. So yeah, it's not just to come here and just share principles, share knowledge, my experiences, or just show you some slides and all of that. No, we also want to validate the knowledge we are transferring to you by you practicalizing and exercising some of these things. Then the fourth thing is we are also going to be including some form of participation. Okay, we're going to be including some form of participation. So anytime you join the class, it's expected that you should participate actively. There can be this temptation that you are here, but you are not here. You can be here in person, online, but you are not here in person physically, meaning that you just sign in and you are somewhere else doing something else. Or you might even be in an area where you are not hearing anything. So I'm emphasizing this because these are instances that we've received whereby by the time we are done with the class, someone is now trying to ask all the conversations that happen in class, whereas you marked your presence that you're in the class. So please, you need to take note of all these things. And all our sessions will try as much as possible to restrict it to 1 hour. We won't take you here for too long. So it's not like we want to download everything for you in just one session. No, it's a journey. So we are going to take it step by step. So we'll be having 1 hour session. It won't be more than 1 hour. And some cases we might even finish before the hour. Okay, so take note of that. That's number 5. Then number 6, you are free to ask us questions. Okay, feel free. Like I said, is learning, and we are also here to learn. So you can, at any point in time, indicate, maybe you raise up your hand, or you can drop the question in the chat box. That's the chat room. You can ask question, okay? And eventually, we are going to pull everybody by the time we clean up the group after this weekend, to know who exactly is going to be in the community. So at any point in time during the course of the week, before we meet on the weekend, at the weekend on Saturday, if you have anything you want to ask us, if you have any question, maybe you are even studying on your own and there are things that you want to bring to attention for clarification, or for you to have further knowledge about project management, please feel free to share with us. And I also advise that everyone should try as much as possible to email contacts, so you can reach me at any point in time, right? And here is my communication um, etiquette. If you call me either on WhatsApp or direct line and I don't respond, don't call me more than 3 times. If you try the 4th time, your number is going to automatically be blocked. Okay? So I have an app on my phone that automatically block number, because it will recognize the number as a spam. So once you call me 4 times consecutively, your number will be sent into my blacklist on my phone. So try as much as possible not to call me repeatedly for whatever reason. If you call me once, it might be that I'm in a meeting, I'm not just available at that time. You can send me a message so that the earliest possible time I can reach out to you or respond to you. Okay. Then the other thing has to do with mail. If you send a mail and I don't respond immediately, please give me 24 hours maximum. I promise you, you will get a response from me within 24 hours for this community. So please, let's take note of this, so that we don't feel like, oh, I'm trying to reach this person and he's not responding. Or it might be something that you think is urgent. And so please, let's just understand the way to communicate with each other so that we can enjoy this relationship and this opportunity. Okay. Finally, we're going to do it last week, but because we took quite a number of time, so I decided to push it over till today. By the time we clean up the group, we are going to be appointing a rep. Let me use that role or that portfolio. There's going to be a rep. There's going to be someone that will be representing the entire student group in the community, right? Someone is going to be the point man, or the point woman is going to be the arrowhead for all the students in the community, so that it's easier for us to communicate with you. So, I mean, there are other instructions, there are other responsibilities we explain to the person once the person is appointed. So the process of appointing, everything will be communicated to you by the time we clean up the group after today. 81 people, for me, is too much, because I expect that all the 81 will equally be committed, but you can see that we are just barely about 14 here, apart from my AIs that are taking notes. So we're just about 14. So that means that just a small fraction of the group. I know Pareto principle will always have played, but hey, we want people who are going to really what the time that we're going to be sharing with you, not just anyone that will be strolling around here, right? So those are just the ground rules and the housekeeping rules, and I will enjoin us to keep to this, and trust me, you are going to really get the best out of your time when you really devote to these things. And I can guarantee you that you will not regret being within our space for such a time as this. Okay, having said that, let's delve into the training. Let's delve into the training. So because you are here, and for the sake of, can't remember again the name, is it Favre? Someone mentioned mentioned about the challenge about his or her phone. So because of that person, I'm going to be sharing the attendance list for today now. I'll be sharing the attendance list for today now. So you guys are here. You can go ahead and fill the attendance list. Just a minute. You can fill the attendance list, and then as others are joining in, we'll share for them too. Just a minute. Let me see. Okay, so if you check the chat box, you will see the attendance list there. So just try and fill the form, fill the attendance list, and then we'll get started. I'm going to share my screen now. Let me share my screen. If you can see my screen, let me know. Can you see my screen? Hello, can you see my screen? Please let me know.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So for the next few weeks, we are going to be looking at the fundamentals of project management as a skill for life. We want to look at the fundamentals of project management as a skill for life. What are those fundamental things you need to know about project management? And it's going to be on the premise of an assumption that you are just hearing about project management for the first time. I know we have people here who are studying project management even as a degree course, or you have studied it in one way or the other as part of your courses in your academic pursuits. So, but I'm making a general assumption that everybody here is just hearing about project management for the first time. So there are basic or fundamental things that you need to know about project management before you know. It's like laying a foundation for you to be able to build your walls, build all your building elements, and then finally you put your roof and then do your decoration to have an habitable edifice that you can functionally make use of. So that's how I want us to take this journey. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about the fundamentals. And that's why we are going to be looking at it from the point of as if you are acquiring skills for life. Because as it were, project management skills are not just what you need only for your career. In all aspects of your lives, you need project management skill. And you will see as time goes on, when we begin to look at some practical example using my personal experiences on the different cuts of my life to share with you how important and how useful this skill is and what kind of leverages, and opportunities project management skill has afforded me. Okay. So this particular curriculum that I'm using for us is not something I create for myself. It's in strict alignment with Project Management Institute, because the goal at the end of the day is some of you from this fundamental training, this fundamental class sessions, will be transiting into preparing into another training that will prepare you to sit for your professional exam. That's certified associate in project management. So the whole idea is, as many of you that will pursue the CAPM exam will be able to, after this fundamental training sessions, you're going to transit into the training that will prepare you for the exam. Because I so much desire that as you are preparing, pursuing your academics, when you are graduating with your BSc or whatever certificate you are going to be going out with for your undergraduates, you're not just going to live with only your BSc. And you see what I mean by that. You're not going to live only with your BSc. You're also going to be living with a professional certificate in project management. So it's attainable, and that would be what you should focus on, okay? So we demand that commitment from you. So what are the things we're going to be looking at here? Number one, we are going to be looking at what project management is. We are going to be looking at what project management is. Then we'll look at what a project is. There's going to be an exercise that you will do. Then we'll also look at what a project manager is. I mean, what is a portrait? If you are saying you're a project manager or you are aspiring to be a project manager, what exactly is a portrait? What are you going to look like, assuming that role? Then we'll also look at what a stakeholder is. It's just like when you pick a book. Remember in English class, when you pick a new book and you are reading a new literature, they give you a new comprehension to read in class. The next thing your English teacher will do with you is to give you or ask you to identify terminologies within the context of the comprehension of the book. Because chances are that once you're able to understand the context of the meaning of those terminologies, then you have full grip about what the entire comprehension is talking about. So there are critical terminologies that we need to define, in our pursuit of understanding the fundamentals about project management. So these are part of what we're going to be dealing with today. Then we'll also look at what is a team member. And of course, we'll look at project management processes and then the process groups. So generally, this is focused on the 6th edition of the project management body of knowledge, which is more like a Bible or a dictionary that governs or that creates the right standards for best practices as established by project management for global best practices. So the PMBOK 6th edition is going to be what's it called now? What we're going to use as the basis of this training, of these fundamentals. So by the time you now move into preparing for the exam and the CAPM exam training, then we can now use the 7th edition. So you see that we are really going to be laying a foundation. It's just like someone that wants to learn how to drive before now. You have to first of all learn using a manual car, right? Before you now move into driving an automatic car. And once you start driving an automatic car, very soon we'll all start using, an automated vehicle, because automatic transmission is different from automated vehicle. Automated vehicle is where you have AI and robotic automation processes, being engineered on the automobile. So that's going to be the progression that we're going to follow here as well. We'll start from the 6th edition, which seems to be our manual process, where we talk more about traditional project management method. Then we'll now move into where we have both the hybrid and then the agile in the 7th edition, preparing those that are going to be willing to sit for the CAPM exam, to prepare for the CAPM exam. Then I'm sure that by the time we've taken 1 or 2, 3, 4 exercises, then we can all be on the same page. Okay. Did you all follow me up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
correct.
Yes, sir.
So again, one of the things that I'm hoping that through this training you are going to establish, different from whatever it is that might have learned or know about project management, is number one, you will understand that there's something we call ITTO. ITTO, according to the 6th edition of Project Management Body of Knowledge, PMBOK 6th edition. ITTO is an acronym that stands for I stand for input, T stand for tools, the second T stand for techniques, and O stand for output. You have input, tools, techniques, or you say templates, because sometimes your tools can be just a mere template, like your Excel sheet and blah, 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 and all of that. We're going to be talking in details about all these things, right? Then your output, more like you have garbage in, garbage out in computing. So that's what project management is all about. So don't forget ITTO. is what project management is all about. So understanding the fundamental things that has to be your necessary inputs, which you need to process, which you need to facilitate, which you need to manage using tools, techniques, or templates in order for you to be able to get desirable outputs, right? That's what project management is all about. But it's not just as simple as I just said now, using ITTO to explain what project management is. But guess what? You need to learn what are all these inputs? What are they all about? You need to learn what the tools are, what the templates are, what the techniques are, in order for you to know the kind of, and even determine the kind of output you want to get. So that is why when you say competent certified project manager, and the person comes in to assess a project, right? To accredit a project, you can easily tell looking at, using the premise of a particular method of project management, either the traditional method or the agile method, to judge the performance of the project, to know whether the project is going to be successful or not. Whereas our goal, our commitment as certified project manager or aspiring certified project manager is to ensure and drive project success. We need to ensure and also drive project success. Okay, so our goal is to ensure that every project you are involved in succeed. Okay, so that's part of what you are going to be learning through this. So let's begin with the first definition. What is project management itself? I've given us a perspective. So let me ask us now. Can someone just explain to us what project management is in your own word or based on your own understanding? What do you think project management is? Anybody, you can unmute. What do you think project management is? Anybody?
Yeah, project management is all about managing, controlling, planning, analyzing a project.
Awesome. Mention some keywords, some key vocabulary. Analyzing, controlling. You talked about monitoring, I think, of a project. Interesting. Interesting. Any other person that want to attempt, what is project management?
Okay, let me try.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, Favor, you can go first, then afterwards, Damilola.
Okay. So let me to explain it, I'll use an example. So basically, you have to understand, you have to get that you're not just going out there to do anyhow you like. You're going to be under someone. So that person is going to be a client. A good example of this would be when someone wants to build a house. You know how the house wants to be, right? But you don't know everything that you're going to need to actually build a house. So that's where a project manager or project management comes in, where he says, okay, you want to build the house and this is your idea. Then he organizes the team, he gives you the plan, he gives you the cost, and then he says, okay, go ahead. So this is how. So the client liaises with the project manager, and the project manager liaises with the team to ensure that the entire task is being completed. So that's my own idea of project management. That's what I know.
Interesting. Thanks for the explanation. And in your explanation, you use a keyword, you use a key vocabulary to summarize what you think project management is. And that's the word organization, because you said the person will organize. A client knows what he or she wants to do, but doesn't know how to go about it. So brings in a project manager who then comes in and organize the entire workflow. So that's very, very interesting. That's very profound. So someone has talked about monitoring, controlling, analyzing. So you are now talking about organizing. Interesting. Yeah, Favor, you can go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to chip in concerning the management aspects of project management. I think it has to do with the scope of the project, it has to do with time management, cost management, quality management. I think, even it has to do with risk, because you have to consider the risk involved in that project. You have to also manage resources and manage the stakeholder, probably how you communicate with the clients, and because communication will be key in order to achieve whatever goal the client has. And basically that's what I feel the management aspect covers, and it can cover beyond that actually.
Thank you. So in your own view, you feel project management focus more on management, which includes the knowledge areas. Okay, talk about scope, talk about risk, talk about time, talk about human resource, talk about communication and co. Yeah, okay, that's also a way to look at it. Thank you. One more person.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
this is Gideon. I
Hello.
thought, yeah, I thought it was Favo that was going to talk the other time. Yeah, Damilola, you can go ahead. I think I saw you
Okay.
first.
In addition to what Gideon have said, to me, in a short term, project management is just the process of overseeing a project from the inception stage to the finish stage.
Hmm. I like this other perspective that you are bringing now. I like this perspective. Very interesting. Because I mean, what really caught my attention is the fact that you use a keyword which is very, very important. Don't forget, we are talking about laying a foundation because the way you lay your bed is how you're going to lie on it. Trust me. So if you understand this rudimental knowledge, if you grab this fundamental knowledge, you won't struggle climbing through the ladders in project management. Okay. So anytime you think about project management, according to PMI standards and global best practices, everything that everybody has mentioned, you are correct. But there is something that governs and bring everything into one box, into one bucket, into one what's it called now? Into one singular entity. And that has to do with a process. So project management is not something that you start and you just finish immediately. Right? It's not something that you just, it takes through a progression, it takes through a process. Whatever method you are using to organize, to monitor, to control, to analyze, whatever tools, whatever technique, whatever templates you are using, in order for you to get a desirable output. The truth of the matter is you must go through a process. That's why I love what Damilola mentioned about process. So you must necessarily. So where you come in contact with people who will tell you, oh no, it's just business as usual, or no, we know how it's been done. It's not a rocket science. There are all these cliche terms and perspective that people bring on board anytime you are organizing projects. Forgetting the fact that anytime you think about project management, you must think about processes. What are the processes that are going to be involved? How do you go about it? That's just the meaning of processes. The how, the question of how. That's what project management answers. The how. And from there, you can now begin to go into talking about methodologies, because in order to answer the question of how, you need to think about strategies. You need to think about methods. You need to think about the ways by which you want to achieve the how, or you want to accomplish the how. So invariably, we are talking about a system. We are talking about a process or an approach that anyone that wants to be involved in the project must follow. And I need to be careful to underscore this. If I'm saying you must follow, that doesn't mean that projects are not dynamic. And then I'm going to explain to you 5 key areas that bring dynamism into projects. Every project. Again, these are things that makes people to commit critical error. In fact, you can easily tell when you see people's behavior on projects that they are accidental project managers and they are not certified project managers. We'll still get there. So when you're talking about project management, it is actually a process. It is an approach, is a system that you put in place to ensure that works that need to be done are done in order for you to be able to create new set of values. The values can be in form of a product, can be in form of a service, can be in form of a particular system of results. It can be in form of tangible or intangible value entities, right? It's not necessarily that project should be like something you can touch, you can feel. It can be intangible, as simple as you delivering a service, okay? So, and you go through this process, right, in order for you to be able to achieve desirable results, okay? You go through it in order for you to be able to achieve a desirable result. Meaning that if you don't go through it, because this is just an inverse law, if you don't go through it, you will not get a desirable result. So when someone tells you that everybody does it, or that is how it's been done, right? You will know that that's why they're not getting the different results. That's why they are getting the same result, that is failure. That's why projects are not succeeding. So for you to be able to achieve desirable results, which is according to the project objectives, how you define desirable results or desirable outcome on project is alignment with the project objective. So you must have a project objective to which you define the kind of deliverables on the project. So the process by which you go, the process you go through in such a way to ensure that that desirable result is achieved is what we call project management. So you see that it's a big deal. This process can take 1 year, the process can take 2 years, process can take 3 years, and all of that. And the process necessarily will have certain factors which can be internal or external to the project environment that need to be, what's it called now, that you need to contend with. We call those factors project constraints. I hope you are following me. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so the factors that you will encounter, the factors you are going to deal with as you are going through the process of delivering a project are what we call project constraints. Before the 6th edition of PMBOK, we used to have what we call the triple constraint. 3 constraints, that's what we mean by triple. 3 constraints to projects. They are fundamental constraints. We are still going to look at it, but let me not dive into it now. But just have at the back of your mind that you have factors that will militate against or for the success of the project. Factors that can cause project failure. At the same time, those factors, if properly managed across the project processes or project systems and the approach you use, method you use, they can accentuate your chances of achieving project success. So all of this put together is what we mean by project management. So when someone is saying he's doing project management, this is exactly what we are talking about. You are trying to define the process, go through the process, right, in order for you to ensure that your project objectives are accomplished and you achieve desirable results or outcomes or products, whatever the value end is, tangible or intangible. And then at the same time, going through those processes, you are dealing with factors, constraints that may prevent you from achieving project success, or that necessarily may accentuate or enable you to achieve project success. So those are the things that we are dealing with when we are talking about project management. And this helps you to understand how to identify or ideate strategies. Okay, so you see now that we are now going through the point of identifying ways, like I explained, the issue of processes, ways by which you can go about it. So you have to define strategies. You have to pick and select the right method that will facilitate, that will enable you to facilitate through the process. So sometimes on some projects, you may not see someone being called a project manager. The person may be called a project facilitator, or an expediter might be called a project expediter. So it speaks to the function or the responsibilities that particular role is playing on the project. So all are tied to strategy. They are all tied to strategy. So beyond just knowing what the processes are all about, is also for you to understand, the imperative of the strategies, imperative of, the kind of method that you're going to use in order for you to be able to achieve your desirable results. So these are things that you need to do when you are talking about project management. Okay, does anybody has any question on this? I want to believe that you've all gotten this. You have any question? Any question? You follow me through up to this point. Can we move forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So thank you. Let's look at the second one. What is a project? So let me ask us now, we've defined what project management is. So let's now define what is a project. Anybody who's going to try? Someone who has not spoken. I don't want to hear from Gideon, Emmanuel, Damilola, Favor. Someone who has not spoken. In your own word, how will you define a project? What's a project? Remember, I said there are 5 things I'm going to talk to you about when you want to understand how to deliver a project. So you need to understand these 5 things in the context of what a project is. So this is where I'm going to mention those 5 things. So what is a project? Anybody?
Okay, I want to try, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead, Bill.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, clearly, go ahead.
From my understanding, I can say a project is an endeavor that has the beginning and the end, and it is time bound.
I like that approach. Interesting. Please, let's keep that on one hand. According to Biodu, it's an endeavor that has a beginning and an end and is time bound. So it's actually, you are actually saying the same thing. 2 things we've mentioned here. 1, it's an endeavor. Then 2, it's time bound. Because when you say something has a start and a finish, or a beginning and a end, you are still talking about being time bound, time frame, timeline, right? So according to Biodu, a project is an endeavor, correct? And it's also time bound. Any other idea from anyone? What's a project? What will you say project is? Anybody?
Yes, sir. In
Gideon,
addition,
you've spoken. Someone that has not spoken, talk. Yes, we have plenty of people
okay,
here
sir.
who have not spoken. I can see Eyosa, I can
All right, sir.
see
No problem, sir.
Fikayomi. So those that have not spoken, I can see this is Ayo too. I see Sandra, Susie, Chosen, Erioluwa. So please, just unmute. Let me hear from us, those that have not spoken. What's the project?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, Susie, go ahead.
Project is a temporary task which has a goal and a timeline, and also the time that it will end.
Okay, that's you took it a step further, right? Please, I want us to follow this thought. It's very important. So Susie perspective is, yes, a project is an endeavor, is a task, right? Is an activity you need to perform, but it is temporary, right? It is temporary. So I love that word you use because it qualifies exactly what the task is all about. A project is not something that you have to do forever. Even from the understanding of time bounding, from the understanding of timeline, from the understanding of start to finish, beginning and ending. So a project necessarily is a temporary endeavor, is a temporary course, is a temporary, just like what we're doing now. It's time bound, it's temporary, right? So very, very correct. There is something that we have not hit, which I want someone else to attempt. So let me hear from one more person. What's a project?
Good evening.
Okay, good evening. We can't hear you. We're only hearing the noise from your background.
Definition:
Hello?
project
Okay.
is a
Yeah,
temporary
go ahead.
endeavor or a unique endeavor because each and every project is different. So a project is a temporary or a is also a temporary and a unique endeavor that has a start and finish time. It also has a limited budget, and the objectives of every project is also different. A project works towards the objective of the organization or the particular objective that that project is being held for.
Okay, interesting. Thank you for adding your own perspective as well. So let me just pull all that we have said together in one bucket. And by the way, you're going to be hearing me mentioning bucket a lot because everything we are going to be learning, you need to be putting them in your toolbox. So if you don't have a toolbox, of course, I'm talking about imaginary toolbox now. You need to create one, and all the things you are learning, all the knowledge I'm sharing with you, just be dropping them in the toolbox. So that becomes your PM toolbox, project manager's toolbox. Okay. So now in your toolbox, you necessarily have put in the meaning of project management. So if someone asks you next time, you just pull it out from your toolbox and give the person. So now you need to put the definition of a project there now. So when we are talking about a project, there are 5 key elements of this definition that you need to underscore that will enable you understand what a project is. And then you can now qualify any endeavor, you qualify any task, any activity with those 5 elements to see whether it's pass or whether it passes for the meaning of a project. Number 1, a project is temporary. Please, very, very important, because there are other tasks and activities you perform in life that are not temporary. There are other things you do with your life, or there are other things you will do in life and engage in life that are not temporary, which you also need to manage. So those things cannot be classified under project management. They cannot be classified to be a project. But anything you do that is temporary is what a project is. And let me just mention in passing here, the opposite of project, because the opposite of temporary is what? I need a chorus answer for this. What's the opposite of temporary?
Permanent.
Permanent.
Thank you. So that means if you are looking for the opposite of a project, you have to look for something that is permanent. Anything that is permanent becomes the opposite of a project. So what do you think would be the opposite of a project? What are those activities? What is the group of activities, or what's the collection of activities that you do that are permanent? Anybody? Just think. This is just rational. Sorry?
That should be an operation.
Correct. Julius, I hope it's not because you are studying project management. That's why you know all this thing. But I'm just kidding. Very correct. It's an operation, right? So when you are looking for an opposite of a project, is operation. So that's why you have a body of knowledge that is called operation management as well. So you don't talk about operation management, operation under project management is a different body of knowledge entirely. It's also a process. It's also an approach. It also has its own methodologies for management, different from how you manage a project. So an operation is a permanent endeavor, is a permanent activity or task that you perform, or group or set of tasks you perform, different from a temporary group of tasks or activities that you perform. So that's the first thing you need to know about a project. It is temporary. Then the second thing is a project has to be performed. Very, very important. And another word for performed is must be achieved, must be accomplished, must be carried out. Okay? You must do a project. That's the meaning. So a project is not something that you just say, oh, I have a project, right? It's from A to Z time, and then everybody goes to sleep. No, a project has to be performed, has to be carried out. So it's more like a project is an action word. That's why we say a task, an activity. You don't perform an activity by just sleeping and waking up in your dream. Otherwise, it's going to be like one is daydreaming and you are just living in fantasy, in a fantasy land or fantasy world. So a project must be performed. That's the second thing that you need to know about a project. It must be undertaken. It must be carried out. It must be performed. Then the third thing is a project is focused on creating uniqueness to produce uniqueness. I've struggled a lot of time, even some certified project managers, sometimes after getting certified, forget this in practice, that every project can never be the same. Every project are unique on their own. I mean, as an architect, all your life, you have always been designing because that's the crux of your discipline. I mean, that's the crux of your practice. So for instance, you've always been given a brief on residential. So you've been designing residential building over and over and over again. There's this temptation that you want to approach all the projects like they are the same, right? Oh, is it not just residential building? Sometimes you might even be tempted to go into your archive to go and copy, the template of one design, and then you want to start building on the other design. I mean, this is something that you have to deal with as a project manager, first of all. So it's a basic principle, it's a rule of the thumb that you need to know. Don't forget 5 things I said. It's a rule of the thumb that you need to know, that projects are unique, and you need to respect the uniqueness of each project. Even if it's the same person, the same client that is giving you the same brief to do, there are so many other features that make the project unique. And some of these features, we are going to be touching on them. Where by the time we are done with the entire training, you will see that indeed projects are unique, because there are so many elements across the project management processes that will show the uniqueness or reveal the uniqueness of a project, right? So what I always tell people when I get on board on the project is, we are all here to learn. Even though you might have been practicing for 20 years, for 16 years, it's still a learning curve, right? Every project is unique. That's the third thing. Then the other thing you need to know is the fact that, sorry, how many things have I mentioned now? What's the first one? I need a chorus answer for this. What's the first one?
It must be temporal.
Okay, what's the second one?
It must be performed or achieved.
Okay, what's the third one?
Can never be the same.
Unique.
Okay, can
Uniqueness.
never be the same, must be unique. Thank you. Then the fourth one, yeah, thank you. Then the fourth one, very, very important, talks about your outcome. Talk about your outcome. What's going to be your project outcome? Don't forget, we are defining project management. I mean, what a project is, not project management. We're defining what the project is, and we are using these 5 elements to explain what the project is. So your project, before you say this is a project, it must have an outcome. There must be an outcome. There must be something we call deliverable. There must be something that we call the final end. There must be something that we call the final ending. When you are saying you are starting and you are ending, at the end of the project, what exactly do you want to see? Okay, that's another critical element of feature to look for when you want to understand the project. Very, very important. And this can be in form of value proposition. This can be along a value stream. How be it a product, okay, a service, it might just be you attaining a result, okay, or it's going to be you inventing. I mean, it can just be a process of inventing an idea, right? But the understanding is it must have an outcome. There must be an output. ITTU. There must be an output at the end of the day. So someone will tell you, oh, in this project, the output should be that my interest is fulfilled. And most times, if I'm going to summarize the outcome of a project in my own word and based on my experience, I usually say that the output of a project can be summarized into levels of satisfaction. I mean, this is a model I developed many years ago. So when you begin to look at some methods to analyze outcomes, to analyze benefits maximization, or generally benefits management, right? Because that's where you talk about value streams. When you look at the level of benefits that is being derived from a project at the end of the project. So you want to manage it, you want to analyze it, you want to assess it, then you can talk about the level of satisfaction of either the clientele, the customers, or even the key project stakeholders, whoever you have defined, identify and define them, analyze them to be. Okay, so this is part of what you need to know when you want to understand a project and what a project is. What level of satisfaction, what level of benefits, not just that when you think, oh, this particular interest has been covered and has been satisfied, then the project has a desirable outcome. No, it has to be an holistic, a complete, a 360-degree view of what the outcome should look like, not just one direction. For instance, on a project where you have multi-parties, you have multi-key stakeholders, maybe for most public projects where you have community interest, you have government interest, you have private sector interest on PPP project and all of that, you have multi-dimensional interest. You need to find a way, you need to have a model by which you want to determine the level of satisfaction across board. Because chances are that your approach to managing that project may satisfy some category of key stakeholders on this kind of project and others are not satisfied. The question is, would you say that you have actually managed the project or not? Successfully now, because the goal is for you to achieve project success, dealing with all the constraints. So this is how you need to understand what a project is and what you need to look out for when you are managing the project. Whatever you want to define the project to be, right? And that's why I will now ask us the question for us to give example of what this kind of project is before I give us the last element, the fifth one. So I would like about 2 or 3 of us to unmute and give an example of what you think qualify, an endeavor, task, activity that you think qualify to be classified under this definition that we have given to define a project. Anyone? Can you give an example? Please, I need us to talk. Oh, sorry, I'm just looking at the chat now. Some people are complaining they can't hear clearly. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now from my end.
Okay, please, that's why I said I would like us to, you can always interject me anytime. If you're not hearing, please, you can just unmute and say, oh, I'm not hearing you and all of that, so that I'll be able to know that we are all flowing together. Please, I don't want to leave anyone behind, right? Yeah, it's very important. I just needed to check the chat box and I saw that Sandra and Fikayomi had posted there that they weren't hearing at some point. Sorry about that. So I'm asking that we need to give an examples of what a project is. So can someone give us examples of projects? What's a project? Can you give us an example of what you think qualified to be defined under these 4 elements that we've mentioned so far?
Okay, a proposed 3, for example, 3-bedroom flats that must be constructed within a period of 6 months.
Okay.
That.
Okay. Thank you, Damilola. That's very correct. So you have a building construction of 3-bedroom apartment that is to be constructed within 6 months. Very correct. That's an example of a project. Any other example?
Planning a wedding. Schooling is a
Awesome.
project.
I want to hear that. Wedding planning or general event planning. Yes, that's an example of a project. We know that some people plan events for like 1 month because it's a society wedding, right? Some people plan birthdays for like a whole year, right? Very interesting. So these are examples of a project, but it has a timeline. It's not something that you do forever. That's good. Any other example?
Yeah. Also, like building a website or coming up with a software. Developing
Okay. Okay, that's good. Development of a website. Yeah, he said development of a website, building a website. That's an example of a project. Come to think of it, what about your academic studies? Is it a project?
Okay, my own example.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Is that a
Project. It's a project.
So can someone explain how your academic study is a project based on what we have discussed so far?
Yeah.
Because
Who is talking?
Yeah. I want to.
is someone talking or should I read?
Yeah,
I was talking. I was saying that because it has like a start date and a end date, and because they are in between these dates, there are a lot of accomplishments to be made. So if you look at it from the perspective that okay, this is a project that I must hit my goals, my targets for each time frame. It is a project.
Okay,
Awesome.
another
Okay,
example
can
that
I add to that too?
is this particular training we are doing presently is a project. This project management.
Interesting. Thank you, Eyoza. Thank you, Biodun. So
Can you hear
yes,
me?
clearly I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, so this training is a project. Eyoza has explained your academic pursuit is a project. You have 4 years, you have 5 years, and maybe in some cases, like some of us that went to OAU, you say plus X, right? Because you don't know that X can be 2 years, can be 1 year, based on the number of ASU strike you witnessed while on campus. But the question at the end of the day is, the bottom line at the end of the day is, it has an end date. You will definitely graduate one day, right? Or when you go to campus, did you meet anybody that had perpetually been on campus? Even your lecturers, they have their retirement age, they have their retirement year, right? So all these things are examples of project, and they all pass for all the elements that I've mentioned to you before now, right? So talking about, I think someone wanted to talk, or is this Susie? Are you speaking to what we are saying here?
yes, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
No, someone has spoken what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Can I say something, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, who is this? Sorry.
Is it not?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, design is also a project. Just like you said, education is also a project. We have event planning. We also have marketing. Like you have strategies you put in place if you are trying to market a product or you want to rebrand a company. So they are all projects. If you are doing a research for your maybe thesis in school, it's also a project because it has a time frame.
Interested. I agree. So here is the gist, and let me just tell you a secret on what makes one to end up being a successful project manager, right? There are different levels of managing projects. Let me use that word. There are different levels. So the basic thing you need to understand, so that when you begin to manage projects, when you are going through the processes, you will know exactly at what level you are working on. There's the level of projects, there's a level of program, and there's a level of portfolio, or what we call enterprise. Next week, I'm going to explain each of these 3 levels to us in detail. But just have at the back of your mind that we don't all, go about temporary endeavor within definite period of time at the same level. Some operate at project level, some operate at program level, some operate at portfolio level, okay? But all within the confines of project management. Whereas there are some activities we do under project management that can also be classified under operation management. An example is what Enoch gave now, when he gave an example of marketing. When you look at some critical element of the activities under marketing, sales and marketing, you can also classify it to be an operation. That's why I was trying to identify those 5 key areas for you to know that, this is how you differentiate between operation and project. Because one once you can put a timeline under your planning phase, once you can put a timeline on any activity, then it ceases to be an operation. It becomes a project. That factor of timeline critically becomes a project. Then you can now look at other elements like the uniqueness. Definitely, it must be a temporary endeavor. Then it must be something that you do, right? I hope we all got it up to this point. Is that a yes?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
So the
sir.
final one, thank you. So the final one
Yes, sir.
on project, for you to understand the project, remember, I told you that a project must be performed. A project must be carried out. So you don't say you are doing a project and then it's just on your computer. So that brings us to the role involved in projects. Aha. I know some of you will now start wondering, where am I going to? And what direction am I taking this to? So when we are talking about a project, there has to be a performer. Behind every project are set of performers, okay? And we are going to get there. Remember, part of the things I said I'm going to take you through under this training curriculum has to do with team management, project team. So we are going to talk more about it when we get there. But just have at the back of your mind that when you are defining a project take into consideration the performer or performers or set or group of performers. Very, very important. So all these endeavors we are talking about, either they are personal endeavors and all of that, even your personal life, because nobody gave any example of his or her personal life as an example of a project. Your house chores, right, that you can classify to be a project. Some of them necessarily are operation, right? You sweep every day, you clean your house every day. Some of these things are operation. But once you now plan it on, you put it on a schedule, you put it on the timeline, then you can see it as a project. Like you need to sweep between so number of hours or so number of time and blah 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 and all of that. Okay. What about cooking? Cooking can be a project at the same time can be an operation, depending on the approach you use in managing it. Right. So I can go on and give you different, but behind all of these examples of project are performers, people that carry out, that produces, that creates all the things that we are talking about in terms of the deliverables, in terms of facilitating the processes, managing the processes, blah, 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 and all of that. So when we're talking about a project, don't just think that it is all about you as a project manager. No. So that's another important thing. So the question is, would you say a project is a project when you don't have producers, when you don't have creators, when you don't have performers, when you don't have doers, and all of that? So these are just food for thought. Because you see people, especially this happens so much in public space. You see people, they will say they are doing project, and you go to the site, they are doing nothing. And yes, money has been voted, they've sent money in, and the question you ask yourself is, are they really doing projects? So that can't be a project. You can't just have it in the book and say, oh, you are running a project and there's nobody that's been allocated. You have allocated money, but no human being is allocated. Nobody is performing the work. Okay, we are going to stop here today, and next week we'll continue. I'm going to give us an assignment. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank God. I'm happy that you have not lost me. So here are the assignments. I want you to look at your individual lives and give me 5 examples of a project that you are currently. Please take note. I'm going to write the mail to you. Yeah, that reminds me. Let me share the link for you to. Yeah, I've actually done that.
I can't hear you, sir.
Sorry?
Hello, sir. Please, I can't hear you. I can't hear you, please.
You can't hear me. Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear now.
Okay, thank you. So I said I'm going to give you an assignment, an exercise to do, which you all submit during the week. So you take your time to do it and then submit. So I want to be sure that everyone here has filled the form. Yes, can you hear me? Apart from Biodun, I hope other people are hearing me.
It was okay. I think I can still hear you now.
I can hear you.
I think it's my network because it's raining heavily here. So it might be my network.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that. So what I'm saying is I'm giving you an assignment. I will send you a correspondence via email to that effect, right? And by the time we clean up the WhatsApp group, some of this assignment will be posting inside the WhatsApp group as well. But I want to be sure that everybody has filled the attendance sheet for today. Please, if you have not done that, perhaps you came in late. I'm going to reshare it now. Oh, okay, I can see Renat is here now. So I'm going to reshare it now. Please make sure you fill the attendance sheet. So I will get your email via that, and then you'll be able to get the recording of this session today. I mean, we are just picking the momentum gradually. So you can see that all we discussed about today is just definition to the term of what prayer management is and what a project is. So from there, we'll start building on other things. We are laying gradually the foundation. So the assignment is look into your life. I mean, your personal life now. You know, we are talking about endeavor. So look into your life and write out 5 examples of projects that you are currently engaged in, that you are currently managing. So when we come next week, we'll start from there, so that you now see that it's actually a skill for life and why you need to, not just because of your career, even for your own personal life, in order for you to be able to achieve all the things that we have explained in the context of these vocabularies, why you need that skill. So even as an housewife, as a parent, all these downfall drivers, everybody, every human being living, they need project management skill in order for them to succeed in life. So from there, we'll start from next week. But that's your assignment for this week. Write them out, just 5 examples. Write them out, and then we'll be able to start the conversation from there next week. Is that taking?
Oh. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How can we
Okay, good.
submit the assignment?
Yes, I'm going to send the correspondence to you. So it's going to be via email. So you just reply the email. I'm going to send you an email.
Okay, that's better.
Yes, I will share the link of this recording for you to go over it. It's going to be uploaded on YouTube, so you can watch it over or listen to it over again. Then each week we'll have it. You will have a channel on YouTube where you can always go and watch and listen over again for your personal study. Then you can also, we'll be able to have the engagement via the email as well. But like I said, once we clean it up, we can have conversation in the WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group for now is very, very crowded. Imagine people who are not here. How can they follow through all our conversation? It's very difficult. And by the time we have the second week, the third week, we can't be going back. People should not be throwing us backwards. So that's why it's important that nobody should miss the class. It will get to a point where I'll be saying some things that if you have not been following through, it will be difficult for you to catch up with the level of understanding. You see that I'm taking it like as if you are not even in, you are not an undergraduate student. It's intentional. I don't necessarily have to stress myself using all this vocabulary system to explain some of these terminologies. But even professionals who have been practicing for years, they get all these things mixed up in the process of practice. That's why I had to take time to break it down for you in simple terms that you can relate with, because it will not leave you. Even when you cease to be a student and you are now practicing as a professional, you will see that it's a fundamental knowledge. Okay? Okay, so this brings us to the end. I don't know, as before we round up within the next 2 minutes, if anybody has any question, if you have any question or any comments. Any question, any comments?
Or more like
Sorry?
a clarity. I said I have a question, sir, but or more like a
Please
clarity
go
on
ahead.
something. Okay, so
Please go ahead.
if I got what you talked us today, operation can easily switch to projects whenever a time frame is attached to it, right?
Okay, no, that's not what I said.
Like,
However,
okay,
a project can transit or will necessarily transit, depending on the project objective, will necessarily transit into an operation. I said the opposite of a project is an operation, looking at the definitions we give.
yes, sir.
Because a project is time bound. It has a start, it has a finish. That's a beginning, that's an end. And it's a temporary endeavor, it's a temporary task. Whereas an operation is a permanent endeavor. It doesn't have a start, it doesn't have an end. You just continue to do it. Like as long as you are living, you are doing it. That's an operation. As long as you are engaged officially in an organization to work in a particular role, you keep working, right? That's why I
Yes,
said
sir.
sales can be an operation, because you keep doing it. Yes, someone
Okay.
is talking. Sorry, I can hear someone talking underneath. Okay, so that's how to differentiate between a project and an operation. But have it at the back of your mind that you have a rule of thumb, right? You have 5 rules in your hand, 5 things. Number 1, a project is temporary. And it's temporary endeavor, right? It's a temporary task, it's a temporary that you put, right? It must, you must produce, you must do it. If you are not doing it, it's not a project. Then number 2, and when you are talking about the system, the method, the approach, that's where you define the doing. So when I'm saying doing, I'm not saying that it must be executed. There are some projects that they are best closed out at planning phase or at initiation phase. So what you do when you're initiating the project is even part of the endeavors. So we'll still get there when we start talking about the process groups and the project life cycles. We'll get there. But just know at the back of your mind that a project, temporary project, must be performed. A project is unique, and a project usually have an outcome, and a project must have performers, people that are involved doing the project. So it's not a one-man show. I'm sure you might have heard that statement before, one-man show. So a project is not a one-man show that one person will work and say he has done the project. No. So when we look at all other nitty-gritty of a project, you see why that should be the correct definition of a project.
All right, thank you, sir.
Awesome. Any other comments? Any other question? I'm looking at the chat box now. Okay, so nothing there to respond to. Okay, so in the absence of, so I'm going to share the exercise with you. Okay, don't forget I said you have to list out 5 projects. Okay, so I have on this template 4, so maybe I'll reduce it to 4 so I can cover that 4 examples of the project in your personal life, and then you define the deliverable. So I'm going to share that with you later tonight. And please, I'm going to, because it's a project, this exercise is a project, so I will give you the timeline. Once you exceed the timeline, and then we are talking, I mean, your practice of project management starts from now. Okay. Once you are given a task to do, you look at the timeline. How do you manage the time? How do you manage your workflow? How do you manage the scope of work? So you don't do scope creeping. You don't do beyond. You know, some people are too studious that your lecturer will tell you to do 3 things. You go ahead because you want to impress. You do 5 things or 6 things to think is by doing more than what is expected, you get A or you get this thing. So these are part of what you are going to be learning in the process of this training. Okay. Okay. I didn't hear from some of us at all today. I don't know whether it's a network or not. Like Busoye, okay, I think at the point Chosen spoke. I didn't hear from Fikayomi as well. I didn't hear from Victor. I don't know whether it's your network, but I just hope that you follow through up to the end now that we are closing. Okay, so next week we are going to meet again. We'll communicate the time with you, and do enjoy the rest of the weekend. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. Do have a lovely day.
You're most welcome. Bye.
Bye, see you. I don't buy.
Bye-bye.